couple of headlines here. The Denver Broncos said goodbye to Russell Wilson and open wide and eat a contract. How does that contract taste? Man, that is not too good.
Eat it.
No. And this is where you have a billionaire owner, new owner, but it doesn't matter that you're a billionaire. You still have to abide by, the salary cap rules. And that's where it gets tricky here with what the Denver Broncos have to eat with this salary. And then Russ can now go and maybe sign for the league minimum, veteran minimum, which is around $1.2 million. But let's refresh your memory. The Broncos acquired Russ, a 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback, and that was in March of 2022. The Broncos gave up 5 draft picks, including 2 first-rounders, and also 3 players in exchange for Russ and also a 4th-round pick. Denver has won 11 of the 30 games since he started, and now Sean Payton moves on. We're not surprised. We thought this was going to happen. The question was when it was going to happen and where Russ is going to be headed. And this is sort of like declaring bankruptcy. You tried something, didn't work, the business didn't work, and now you declare bankruptcy of sorts, and you send Russ packing. Sean Payton didn't want Russell Wilson. But, I start to look at this organization. You brought in Nathaniel Hackett. You made a trade for Russell Wilson. I mean, that has been devastating when you think about this. And now Sean is in. Now Sean Payton's on the clock. Now it starts. It's like, tick, 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 tick. Here we go. Okay, Sean, who do you want? And I'm looking at the Denver Post. They have a couple of options here. How about Bo Nix, Oregon? How about Michael Penix Jr. III from Washington? J.J. McCarthy from Michigan. Every mock draft has J.J. McCarthy going to Denver. How about Gardner Minshew? How about Jameis Winston? How about Justin Fields? These are possibilities that are presented in the Denver Post. They go into detail as to why these players could be an interesting option there. But it looks like, Sean's going to get his guy, a younger guy. He wants to mold him. He wants to see if he can find the next Drew Brees and have that quarterback sort of fall in line with what Sean's philosophy is. But Russ is not the same, hasn't been the same. He had his motivational coach pass away a couple of years ago, and Seton made the analogy that it's like when Kanye's mother died, Donda. He spiraled. He hasn't returned from that. But I think Russ has been greatly affected, by his motivational coach, his confidence level. And Sean Payton's probably just, hey, I don't have patience for this. I don't want to put up with this. And Russ can kind of be in the moment and tell you all the things you want to hear, and it doesn't feel real. And maybe Sean just couldn't see himself putting up with that for another couple of years. As for Russ, where do you go? Well, let's say you take $1.2 million. Let's say you take, because he's still going to get paid by Denver. They still are on the hook to pay him. Let's say Pittsburgh. Let's say Atlanta. Raiders. Patriots. What about Washington? Would they be interested in maybe not taking a quarterback there? Maybe trading out of that? See, that's the key with Washington. If they could trade out at number 2, what can they get for that? And then maybe you have Russ in there. Or maybe you do both, that you have Russ there for 1 year overseeing Jaden Daniels or Drake May. But Russ, according to Mike Florio sent us a note this morning saying Russ, wherever he goes, is going to want to be guaranteed the starter, at least that first year. All right, go to Atlanta. See, really, the first domino is Kirk Cousins. If Kirk Cousins stays in Minnesota, now Atlanta knows we either draft a quarterback or we go out and maybe sign Russ or Baker Mayfield. If Kirk Cousins, as Mike Florio has rumored, his family's moving to Atlanta, where his wife is from, Atlanta needs a quarterback, and Kirk Cousins a free agent. Kirk Cousins maybe to Atlanta, but Florio had that report earlier this morning. Let's say Kirk Cousins goes to Atlanta. Now Minnesota needs a quarterback. Minnesota would be interested in J.J. McCarthy. So the dominoes are going to fall, and it really starts with Kirk Cousins. Now, does Russ wait for something to happen? Does he have to wait for something to happen? Is Pittsburgh really all in on their quarterbacks? If you have 3 quarterbacks, you don't have one quarterback. And Pittsburgh needs one in that division when you look around at the other quarterbacks in their division. The Raiders? Can you see them going to the Raiders? I don't, but then the Raiders do stupid things, so you can't rule that out. Yes, Paulie.
I've just been thinking about the Denver angle of this. 3 years ago on draft night, they thought they were getting prime Aaron Rodgers. Remember that night? There's a report. He's going to the Broncos. They're going to get their quarterback finally, and then they get Russ. The Broncos were 8-9 last year. They were a game and a half away from making the playoffs. This is not some disastrous franchise. Russell Wilson didn't have 12 touchdowns and 18 picks. He had 26 touchdowns and 8 picks. Did this team need to be blown up, I guess, or at least a quarterback position in their cap room for 2 years?
I don't think Sean Payton liked Russell Wilson.
There's things I don't know. It's like
you
not liking.
You spend so much time with your quarterback. I just don't think Sean wanted to put up with Russ brings now. I mean, very corporate. I think he wanted an office or had an office there. It just, a coach needs to be able to be a coach, and it probably seemed like or felt like or looked like, all appearances, that he just didn't like Russ. And I go back to when he's yelling at him on the sidelines. Can you think of another marquee, maybe soon-to-be Hall of Fame quarterback where a coach has dressed him down in public like that? And maybe there have been instances. Belichick never did that with Brady because people say, well, there was friction on the sidelines. I don't think that Bill did that.
Not Bill didn't, but Tom did that with just about every week with his offensive coordinators.
That is true. He did do that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, right there told me everything I needed to know. I was like, there is no way he's going to be back. No way. They'll eat that, and this has been a devastating couple of years, and it's going to get worse before it gets better in Denver. Yes, Eden.
Russ was making 1.2 every week or two.
Yeah.
Now he's going to go for the whole year. Man, that's wild.
But he still gets paid.
Yeah.
He still gets paid, and then he'll sign for maybe the veterans minimum, which is $1.2 million. I mean, this is wild. This is, when you think of the worst trades, now there have been bad ones. Minnesota traded for Herschel Walker, and really that trade is what helped the Dallas Cowboys win Super Bowls. Deshaun Watson's trade, that's not good for Cleveland. This could be as bad. Bryce Young, that's a bad deal too. When you consider everything that Carolina gave up to get Bryce Young, and then they probably drafted the wrong quarterback. If you do it and you get the right quarterback, then you go, okay, it was worth it. Nobody's saying, boy, what did Kansas City give up to get Patrick Mahomes? It was they got Patrick Mahomes. That's all that matters here. It's when you don't get the guy that you think is the guy, that's when it sets you back. So C.J. Stroud, you miss out on him. You give up a couple of first-round picks. DJ Moore, you give him up. I mean, that's bad. But this is historically bad what Denver did. Is the same GM there who brought in Nathaniel Hackett and then...
As I say, it's not bad enough to lose your job, though.
Yeah, but is this George Payton who is the GM there? Was he the GM who brought in Nathaniel? How do you survive that? Let me see your resume. Okay, all right. Okay. Okay. So Russ is now looking for a new home, and he'll have a couple of options there. Couple options. Yes, Mark.
How many seasons does Sean Payton have?
2.
Just 2?
I would say he's on the clock now, and then let's say you're not a playoff team in 2 years. Okay. He makes a lot of money. He makes $18 million. I would say 2 years. Okay, are we a playoff team? And still, you have Kansas City and the Chargers and the Raiders who have better odds at making the playoffs than Denver does. But let's see who Denver gets. But if you're getting a rookie, there's a lot that goes along with that. But this is what Sean loves. Sean is, Sean McVay, Sean Payton, they love to be the puppeteer, Hey, I can have that guy go, Shanahan. Hey, I can have anybody go out there and play quarterback. Just let me in their ear.